us to go ahead and mute yourself so that it doesn't make any gargling noises, and we're just respectful of Nicole as she's presenting. But thank you guys so much for joining us today. This is our growth collaborative. You guys, you're part of this collaborative, part of this conversation, and Carrie and I are always so honored to create a platform where we can bring in national guest speakers to come and talk to us about some of the core values that we have as an organization. Carrie and I really like to focus on wealth building and financial mastery, because we know that mastering our finances is not, or I'm sorry, mastering wealth is not just about finances, right? It's about mastering the idea, the concept, the limiting beliefs that we have around what wealth actually looks like in our society. We also talk about health and wellness. We have an amazing coach and guest speaker coming on next month to talk specifically around what health and wellness looks like and how you can show up as a better version of yourself in your business when you change your mindset around health. And of course, a lot of our topics are around personal and professional growth and strategic talent acquisition. So today, we are joined by the incredible Nicole Middendorf, and we're being live streamed. Thanks for letting us know, Zoom. So Nicole is an entrepreneur. She's an author, a world traveler, a philanthropist, and of course, a very accomplished public speaker. She is a wealth advisor and a certified divorce financial analyst with Prosper Wealth Financial, where she really focuses on how to help people create wealth from the inside out, which is a little bit what I was talking about before. It's changing that mindset. It's understanding how to master your wealth. So Nicole is going to share some financial advice and real life perspective on saving, planning, and investing. She works really hard to empower her audience to make these crucial and positive changes in their own life, which is why we brought her on, because we're all about personal and professional development and empowerment. And that's what we want you guys to take away from this and feel inspired when you leave. So without further ado, Nicole, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that you can take over. And we're so excited to have you here.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for having me. Let's see if that worked. Do you see living life to the fullest?
We can.
Yeah. The joys of technology. I'm always having to have my assistant come in here and I'm like, oh my goodness. so I'm glad you can see the screen. So, oh wait, I bet we have to do the this be even better. There we go. Okay, so living life to the fullest. I never planned on being a wealth advisor. I'm a former figure skater and went up to St. Cloud State University and planned on going to down the path of law school and be like Madeleine Albright or Ruth Bader Ginsburg. But sometimes how you have this plan for yourself in your life and it really doesn't end up that way. That's what happened. That's what happens to most people, and that's what happened to me. But never planned on being a single mom, let alone being a wealth advisor. And really now I'm doing more public speaking, writing more books, and really becoming more of a motivational speaker. And it's all about taking yourself and your life and finding that true happiness and answering that question of like, what's your why? Like, why do you get up in the morning? Why do you do what you do? But I went up to St. Cloud State, went to school for international business and marketing, and up there met a gentleman who dreamt of being a stockbroker his whole life. And that is how I ended up in this career, was by marriage and not by choice. I accepted like going into the world of finance because more or less like, he's like, this is what you're going to do. I just thought I was married to someone that was very controlling and wanted someone to do his work for him. Later on, I really came to the understanding that I'm a survivor of domestic violence, and that's my whole other story. But I really believe like things happen for a reason, and out of the worst things in life come some of the best. And so, that the legally 13 years of marriage, let alone 10 years outside of that of court and unraveling this. And now I finally feel very, very blessed that I found myself let alone can share that story with other people. So these are my two kids. My daughter is 12 going on 21. My son is 14 going on 5 most days. And single mom, and never planned on that. But on August 4th of 2010, that was the first time that the 911 phone call went through, and my now ex-husband, a warrant was put out for his arrest for domestic violence. And my daughter was 6 months old and my son was 2. And I was doing a radio show every Saturday on FM 107. By that time, I had written maybe one book, and had done some public speaking and things. And the company was called Strategic Financial, and was thrown into this world of divorce personally, let alone divorce of a business, and let alone really truly finding myself again. And so I got the kids to bed one night and like, okay, I hate my house. I hate my career, and everyone thinks my life is perfect. Like, I live on Lake Minnetonka. I've got the boats, the 4-wheelers, the cars, the big house, and I'm on radio and TV. But I hated every single thing of it because none of it I had picked out. It had all been like, this is your life, and this is what I was thrown into. And so I'm like, okay, how do I get out of this? Not just the divorce, but how do I get myself back? And so I sat down and I rewrote my bucket list. And I just committed to myself that I was going to do one thing a month for a year. And I will tell you about that as I share more about the Live It list. And that's really what drove me to love my career, love my life, and finally really actually find happiness, which was really truly finding myself. So now I own Prosper Well Financial. I had to give up the website, the company name, the phone numbers. We had 12 financial advisors. I had to give that all to my now ex-husband as part of the divorce. And that company no longer exists. And so now I own the commercial building right at 494 and 7 in Minnetonka. We have 9 people, and we're just growing and expanding because I really believe if you come from your true authentic self and you come from a great place and you're just a giver. And I was having this conversation with my son last night about giving and how, if you just give and give and give and give, it comes back to you tenfold. So what we're going to talk about is what makes you happy. What does success mean to you? I'll share more about the whole Live It list, which was formulated from the bucket list, goal setting, and then living life with happiness. So I don't know if you've ever heard this before, but the highest performing emotions are happiness, confidence, and gratitude. And I feel like, again, out of the worst things come some of the best. The pandemic, I feel like it really put people in a place to reevaluate their life and like what's important to you? Like, what are you grateful for? And really this focus on happiness. But I've been talking about these things since 2010. And our team, we meet every morning, and we have to say, like, what are the 3 things that we're working on for the day? But we also say we start first with what we're grateful for. And that just sets you in a different tone. And I do this with my kids too, because so many times, our kids are growing up in a totally different world and social media and all of that can paint some different images that we may not necessarily want. And so it comes down to the basics of like, what are you grateful for? And some mornings I'm grateful that my kids actually made their beds and listen to me. Just depends. Could be a big thing, could be a little thing. Only 1 in 3 Americans considers themselves truly happy. And this to me is frightening because we live in America. I had lived over in Germany in high school and college. And today is a different world than it was back then. But to me, it's just astounding the opportunity that we have here in this country to own your own business, or, for us as women, the things that are available to us now that weren't available to us 20 years ago. But with that, like only 1 in 3 are happy. And this is what really drives me, is to help people be happy and figure that out. And it used to be so many times would think like, oh, well, when I, get $1 million, or when I have that next closing, or, when this happens, or when my kids get to school, or when I go on this vacation, like then I'll be happy. And it's not that. It's really figuring out how can you be happy in every moment and really what makes you happy. And most of the time people think it's stuff, it's that bigger house, it's that newer car, and it really isn't. Studies show that the more you spend on experiences, that's going to bring more happiness than spending money on things. Because how many of you, like we were just at Target last night, my daughter and I, And how many of you walk into a store with your list of items that you're going to buy? And we ended up coming home with a Halloween blanket, and I bought Halloween candy for the office, and all of a sudden, it's barely September. And we bought all these things that were not on that list. So one, you're spending more money than you planned on. But two, like when you get home, are those items truly what brings you happiness? No, for me, it's the time that I had alone with my daughter after her ice skating lesson, doing one of her favorite things, which is shopping. That is what truly is the experience, not necessarily spending the money behind it. But happiness is defined by positive options such as pleasure, contentment, joy, and satisfaction. And so it's having experiences. I don't know if you've ever seen this wheel, but I do this at least twice a year. I'm headed on a plane early tomorrow morning to Miami, and this is my time of year that I'm going through this. And so tomorrow morning on the plane, I'll be taking this circle and drawing this and ranking. And what happened for me a couple of years ago was health was like way on the low side. And last time when I did this, health was kind of getting on the low side again. So I'm like, okay, I got to ring this in. Let me get back on intermittent fasting. But you've got to find a system that works for you. But for me, it was a couple of years ago, health was really waning because as a full-time business owner and a full-time mom, I was just being dragged in all these different directions and getting less and less sleep. And what happens? Like you're at your son's football practice, and then you're getting your daughter to ice skating. You're then stopping at Target, buying all these Halloween things. By the time you get home, you're checking your email. There's 146 emails to get back to. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I need to help with math homework. And what happens? You go last. And we as women especially put ourselves last. And it's so important to put yourself first and have this I don't like the word balance, but have a blend. And that doesn't mean that, maybe you don't work out every single day. Maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday is your day that health is going to be a 10, and then something else is going to go. But the whole goal is that you have a blend and that you're recognizing an area. And so for me, what I did is I signed up for Peloton. I bought a bike. I live by their app. When I bought this building, I put in a workout room downstairs. I found someone to come to my house 3 days a week at 5 in the morning so that I can come here and work out. And so you just have to figure out what makes you happy and what's your priority and what's important to you, and develop systems or put things into place. It could be, you're in credit card debt. It's all about, okay, you could keep saying, I'm in credit card debt, I'm in credit card debt, I'm in credit card debt. And every year, like that's something that bothers you. We've got to figure out a way of how to change it. And most of the time it's psychological, right? So if you have credit card debt, simply take a glass of water, put that credit card in the glass of water and put it in your freezer. What you did is you changed your behavior. So with any of these things, it's figuring out something of how can you change your behavior. I also now have 20-pound weights sitting by my nightstand, because otherwise I walk by my workout room and I'm totally focused on 80, 100 million other things. But if they're by my nightstand, I'm like, oh my God, I got to lift 20 of those with bicep curls before I go to bed. And it's just implementing different systems and little small things that will make a huge difference for you. So what makes people happy? Feeling fulfilled, having achievement, having passion, making a difference, having a support system, living life to the fullest potential, desire, having goals, achieving those goals. And for me, it's giving back. I have my own foundation. I'm just super charitably inclined. I love helping others. Now, here's another fact. Americans over the age of 50 are more likely to be happy. Why? Well, generally it's because we live half our life and we're having a midlife crisis, and we're like, oh my God, we only have 50 years or less left. We got to maximize this. So they're more focused on being happy. And so, or they're closer to retirement, or they're retired. But how many times, this happened last year. So there are 3 people in my life that know every single thing that happened with my divorce. So it's not saying my parents don't know, my family doesn't know, my friends don't know, but there are 3 people that almost read every single email and helped me through this whole 10 years. And one of them was my dear friend and my family law attorney, who died basically a year ago of cancer. And she was 54. And then the next month, October of last year, Chris, a cop who I helped retire. So his plan was to retire when he was 50. At 50, he's like, I'm going to keep working. I'm going to keep working. I'm like, you need to retire. This was your whole goal. He finally retired a little after 51. And at 52, he didn't wake up in the morning. And so he died a year ago. And then I'm going down to Miami this weekend. Wanted to see a dear friend of mine, Will, who basically helps an attorney and a police officer. He helped me with every email back and forth to my ex. He was driving his motorcycle and a woman ran a light and he ended up in ICU. And so when stuff like that happens, it gets you to just stop and pause and be like, okay, like what really matters and what really truly is important. It's not being frivolous and like spending money on things, but it's coming down to like what really matters and why wait for something to be happy. Take control of that happiness and make it for yourself now. Here's another fact. America is the 14th happiest country in the world, which is again pretty sad. Finland, Denmark, and Norway are number 1, 2, and 3. And then when we look at our kids, countries with the happiest kids, Netherlands, Norway, Iceland, Finland, Sweden, you see kind of something? Now here's what I love. These are lots of heritage, like I'm Swedish. These are lots of heritages that are here in Minnesota. So they don't break down, each individual state, but, look at the fact of where can we learn some things from if we have happiness outside in other countries and happier kids. And kids will tell you, oh my gosh, it's having the newest phone, it's having the newest game, it's having the newest wake surfboard, or as we're getting into snowboard season, like the new boots, the new snowboard. But really, that's not truly what makes them happy. It's those close personal connections with family and friends. It's the time that you take. So here's the benefits of happiness. 1, you're going to be happy. 2, you're going to have reduced stress, which generally stress is what's the cause of shorter life expectancies, as well as stress is the cause of medical issues. You're going to have increased energy. This is lemon water with these magic drops that I take to boost my immune system because I have a rare blood disorder, but I don't drink coffee. And people are like, how do you have so much energy? Like I'm up, 5 a.m. Well, we're like 4:45, but to get out the door at 5, but I'm up like running and I don't drink coffee. Because if you're so focused on the good stuff and the important things and the happiness, it just breeds more happiness. And you're wanting to live that hour and you're wanting to live as much as possible. You're going to have better overall physical health, better overall emotional health. You're going to live longer. You're going to have increased productivity and greater self-confidence. So the other thing that I mentioned earlier was about gratitude and how every morning we as a team ask and state what we're grateful for. But you can use an app, just have a journal, find a system that works for you, but just every morning, just have a pause and just say, what am I grateful for? What am I thankful for? The other thing that I encourage people to do is have a happiness journal and answer these questions from time, which this is what I'll be doing again on the plane tomorrow, is like, what does happiness mean to me? Because all of us have different answers. It means all different things. But I love this question. When was the last time you were really happy? Like, when's the last time that you had that deep belly laugh? And like, who were you with? Because I hate to say it, but I've had to cut out a lot of people out of my life just because they're very negative. And this was the conversation that I was having with my son about gratitude last night and giving, and just like he's just had this real negative attitude lately. I'm like, who wants to be around you when you're negative? No one wants to be around you. So really look at who you're surrounding yourself with, because if you're leaving a happy hour or time out with your girlfriends and you're like, oh my God, that was draining, that was exhausted, maybe you should reevaluate those relationships and look at the experiences that you have, that you leave, that you're like, your stomach hurts and you didn't know you were going to have an ab workout because you laughed so hard. Those are the types of people that you want to spend the time with. And how can you bring about more happiness throughout your day? What gave you happiness today? And then what negatively impacted your happiness today? Life is tough. There's, that next phone call could be a difficult situation. Something could happen. And so there's always going to be negative things that happen. That's called life. But what was it? And how did it negatively impact you? Because sometimes things may feel like immediate, pending, horrible things. But then when you look at it, the big picture, it's like, that really wasn't that negative. That really wasn't that bad. And then what 3 good things happened today? Because again, you want to focus on the positive, because the more that you focus on something, the more it's going to come to you. But here's the most important question. It's why? Why do you get up in the morning? Why do you do what you do? That's the biggest question that you want to answer for yourself, because that really drives everything. You've all probably seen these charts before when you were younger, looking at Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And so obviously we all need to have these basic needs taken care of, a place to live, something to eat, and have that sense of security. But generally, there's a study that was done from Princeton talking about money and happiness. And once you make more than $75,000 a year, there's not any range of happiness. Like if you make 75 grand or $1 million a year, it doesn't increase your happiness. Now, if you make 75,000 versus 50,000, that makes a difference because your basic biological needs haven't been met. But once your basic biological needs have been met, place to live, food, clothing, modes of transportation, you're not going to be any happier. It's all these other things, security, relationships, respect, life purpose. Those are the things that are going to bring you happiness. Not making more money, not having more in your investment account.
So Nicole, quick question on that. I've heard that study before, and I've had a lot of conversation with people on this. And since you are a financial advisor, I love to hear different people's perspectives. I agree that you have to be at a benchmark where you aren't so stressed out for your next meal or taking care of your kids. I mean, that affects happiness because you just can't move to even focusing on your purpose if you can't take care of your basic needs and those of your children. But I've had people say that, when they actually had a peace of mind. And as entrepreneurs in the real estate industry, and you know this because you're a business owner and financial advisors are very similar, when you have to sell a home to cover your basic biological needs, and every year is different, and your income is going to be, yes, in direct proportion to what you do, wake up every day and how you lead generate and so forth. But also there's other factors that are definitely going to have control over your income more so than you. And you wake up every day thinking like, I've got to do that over again. There's no residual. There's no security there. It is literally what I do every day. And God forbid, if I get sick and I can't do it, I don't make money anymore. I think that there's a bit of a different mindset amongst us who choose this path of life. And there's a lot of benefit to it. There's a lot of stress related to that. And so that's why I find that when people are in this type of a career, the focus on that security piece, that is number two, meaning how can they have some passive income? How can they have things working in the background? How do they actually exit this particular industry? Because we don't have a 401k here. And most people are living year to year to year, and the years are so different. They don't always think of ways to make that money work for them or keep more of that money, which is what I love you to share. How do you think that study affects those of us in this particular realm of work?
Absolutely. No, it's a great question. And it's having your basics met. So that's where you've got to look at, when there's great years, it doesn't mean you spend that money. It means you take more of that money and put it away for the not so great years or put it away for the future. And so that's where you want to have a budget. Yes, that dreaded B word. You want to have a budget. And we have a budget worksheet on our website that you can use. Otherwise, you can just email me and I'll get it to you. But you want to have your budget and you want to know like, okay, what do I need? So let's just say you need $75,000 to meet your expenses. And maybe that number is higher than that. And maybe that's where sometimes you have to look at, well, maybe I'm living too expensively. Maybe, the times were great and I bought, because I'm sure you're seeing clients that have done this, times get great. And then people buy a bigger house and then they're like, oh, and then they get laid off and then they go through a divorce and like, oh my God, uh-oh, you can't go so big so quick. And so that's where you have to look at what is my baseline? What do I need every month? What do I need every year to live? And let's say that's at 75,000. So let's say you have a year that you do 275. That doesn't mean you spend 275. That's not going to make you any happier, because that's what happens if you go spend that 275 and then you have a year that you make 50, you haven't met your basic needs and you just made your life much more stressful than it needed to be. And so that's where in those good years, you want to take all that extra that you make, do your SEP IRA. The SEP IRA is your replacement for the 401k plan. You're able to put up to 25% of your net income away, and it's totally deductible for you. It's up to $60,000 a year. I miss the days that I could do a SEP, because then once you get employees and you get a team, you're dealing then with a 401k plan, and 401k plans, generally you're able to put basically 20 grand a year into those. So that's where it's saving that money. And then it's also making sure that you have liquid money market set aside, which any wealth advisor, we're going to tell you want to have 6 to 12 months of expenses. So 75 grand set aside so that if you have a year that's 0, or if you have a year that's 50,000, that you have that money there to meet your basic expenses.
Yeah. So you are talking about a SEP IRA. For those of you that don't know about that, I mean, because here's the thing, Nicole, you go from making 75,000 that hits your basic needs, and you didn't have any extra savings. Then you make 275,000, and then you have a huge tax ramification.
Yep.
And, and then we're all paying for our own health insurance, which is very expensive. And we have all of these expenses that are typically more expensive than, people who choose a corporate America job, right? But we have the opportunity to go from 75 to 275 in a year, which no one else has.
Correct.
But but there's this positive and these challenges. And so we don't know when we're making 75,000, what to do when we hit 275. So there were a couple of things that you shared that were very, very impactful in our in-person meeting in Minnesota when we were there. The SEP IRA was one of them. Having an HSA account, right, for your healthcare would be huge. And those of you that are with EXP, if you haven't looked into our affordable healthcare, you should, because most of those programs are HSA accounts. So you're saving, I believe it's $7,300 in the tax. You can put that money tax-free away. You're going to pay for your insurance anyway. So why not do that? Plus the insurance costs are less expensive. What else would be a few tips if people are like in that position? We have people who keep increasing their income in this group because they're doing great things. They're not always keeping it because they don't know about some of these things, and that becomes the problem.
Yep. So the SEP IRA, and then there's the Roth IRA. If you qualify, the Roth, you can either do 6 or 7 grand, depending upon your age. If you're over 50, that's where you can do 7 grand. The SEP IRA helps you now in taxes. The Roth helps you later on. Anything that you earn in the Roth IRA, you don't pay taxes on those dollars. And so those are the 2 first accounts. Then you want to have liquid money. And then you also want to make sure that you're paying estimated taxes, or that you have a tax account and then you're putting money in there. And then beyond that, then you set up a regular investment account. And that is your extra fallback for when the years aren't great, or that's for the travel, the cars, all like the extra fun things that you want to do in your life, buy another cabin, buy another investment property. That's where you can put the money there for those.
And the last question I would really quickly ask you, I'm sorry to take you off track, because this is really important information for people to hear. And you guys write these things down, research them, contact an advisor. Nicole, I know, and her team do work in different states. So at the end, we can have her share where that is, because she's done a lot of great things for people that I've known. And I've referred to a number of people who've been extremely happy with her guidance and her team's guidance. So we'll do that at the end. The other piece of that is we had this conversation. There's still equity in all of our homes. Despite the fact that the market's shifting a little bit, banks are still looking at these properties and saying, you still have X amount of equity. Now, if you could sell it for that, in the market, that's always a little bit different. But when you said something, and I thought it was really impactful, and I've heard multiple people say this, when you're in a positive position to borrow money, that's when you should do it. Don't wait until you have to and you're scrounging, because it's probably when you're not going to get approved to. Correct. So for some people, where you said, liquid cash, or having money at hand, or taking advantage of opportunities, we don't always think of having money at hand because of a tragedy, but what about having money at hand to take advantage of an opportunity that could come to us? And we are in an industry where we could have some opportunity upcoming for us to build wealth for our family and passive income. So home equity line of credit, right? Possibly.
Yep. You want to have, and I'm dealing with this now because I re-sided my commercial building, and I paid for that in cash. And then I just moved a year and a half ago, but I'm actually most likely going to be building a home. I wasn't planning on doing that, but thankfully I have a personal line of credit and I have a home equity line of credit that I've never used. So you want to ask for money when you don't need it. And it's for situations like this that, oh my God, here's this amazing opportunity. And whoops, I just wrote out a big check. But it wasn't, because I wasn't planning on finding this opportunity. And so that's where, you don't want to have credit cards that are maxed or even have a balance on them. You want to have credit cards for use to take advantage of the extra miles and all the perks that cards give you, but pay them off so that you can use them if something happens, and have that home equity line of credit. If you have a business, have a business line of credit, have a personal line of credit, have money and access and things available to you. Absolutely. The other big question that you want to ask yourself is, what's your life purpose? Like when you're no longer here, what do you want? What do you want to have? And I just redid my trust and my estate plan and everything, which once you get one set up and you want to do that with an estate planning attorney, you want to update it and reevaluate it. Well, I probably talk to my kids too much about this stuff. But it's partially because I'm a financial advisor, but it's partially now, they're 12 and 14. And if I'm no longer here, that's kind of a scary question for them, is like, who's going to take care of us? My daughter has no relationship with her father. And so I had this conversation with them about like, here, this is, going to be your guardian. They're going to move into the house. If this can't work, this person, and these are all people that my kids know. And my son goes, okay, so if something happens, like, why is money like going off the top first to your foundation and then to us? And then his other good question that he asked was, do I have to have a financial advisor to get this money? And I'm like, that is brilliant advice. I even wrote a LinkedIn post about it. I'm like, I'm now going to share with clients like that they do that, it's required that these kids get a wealth advisor. But it's all about what's your life purpose. For me, I'm having money go to my foundation because I'm super passionate about helping others with domestic violence and financial literacy. And I want that to continue when I'm no longer around, as well as a succession of prosper well. But what's your life purpose? Like, why are you doing this? And then the other question is, what does success mean to you? Because success means different things to different people. And I will always, always, always remember, I was sitting down with Corey Berry, the CEO of Best Buy, and this was before she was the CEO of Best Buy. And she said something like, oh my gosh, like, your success or whatever. And I said the word success and I did quotes, and she stood up from the lunch and she's like, do not ever do that. She's like, you need to own your success. And I feel like for us as women, many times we don't acknowledge all the things that we do, and we aren't necessarily acknowledging all of the success that we've had, and you want to really celebrate that. And so here's one of my favorite quotes is, failure is not the opposite of success, it's part of the success. And so it's even important to celebrate your failures, because really that's where you learn the most from, is from your mistakes. My goal is always just to make more mistakes faster to get to more success. So for some people, success means waking up in the morning. Maybe you're going through difficult times. Maybe you have a medical issue, being stress-free, having time, having the ability to make decisions, being happy with what you have. Sometimes success means changing lives, or love, or relationships, or having joy or peace, or having balance. Meaning is the motivation that moves us. And so it's super important, which I alluded to this a little bit earlier, about like who you surround yourself with. But studies have shown that among professionals, having meaning, it translates to greater job satisfaction, higher productivity, lower turnover, increased loyalty. And so it's really important to figure out, like, be honest with yourself, like, what are you good at doing? And I had a client in here the other day, and he was talking about, he's like, I don't remember if I made this up, or I saw this, or this quote, but he's like, basically, when someone tells you you're a cowboy, the first time you're like, whatever. And then when 2 people tell you you're a cowboy, you're like, whatever. And then when 7 people tell you you're a cowboy, you should maybe go buy a saddle and a horse. And so when someone tells you you're great at something, then that's where you need to really listen to that and figure out, like, what am I good at? And because there's many things I am not good at doing, and that's where I've got a team of people to do those. Focus on the things that you're good at and do those things. Spend more time with what you love doing. And then managing your energy. Giving yourself some time. This is why I live to travel. I don't travel during the summertime. I travel primarily during the winter time, and now it starts tomorrow. And I love that, because it's my time where I don't answer my phone. I don't have someone coming into my office. I can't be doing a speaking engagement. I can't be talking to a client. It's my time to read. It's my time to write. It's my time to sit and reflect. And that's super important, to have that time where you can sit and just have some focused quality time and think about, where are you at? Where do you want to be? And what can you do to make things a little bit different for yourself? And then really figure out what situations or who are you in that increases your energy, and what situations are you in that decreases your energy. And if you're journaling, write those down and really look at what can you do to minimize those times that your energy is decreased and maximize the time that your energy is increased. And then connecting. It's all about having mentors. If you don't have one, get one, and finding people and finding systems, and then being a mentor, finding groups like this, ways that you can connect with other people so you don't feel like you're on an island. Because I get it, as a business owner, there's many days that you feel like you're all alone. And then mentoring, being a mentor, finding someone that's a peer, a friend that can relate from that standpoint, maybe having a mentor for the career, and then a mentor for your life, finding these people that you want your life to be like and spending some time with them. Quality of life is important, but there is no point in making money if you can't enjoy the simple pleasures along the way. So here's my live it list. And what happened was, the kids, Gabby was 6 months old, Parker was 2, and I sat down and like, how did I end up here? And how do I get out of this? And so I rewrote my bucket list and I wrote down 12 things, and I committed to doing one thing a month for a year. And one of them was to drive a race car. And so I met with my best friend from college and I said, hey, will you go up to northern Minnesota with me and drive a race car? I redid my bucket list. I'm just going to do one thing a month for a year. And he's like, Nick, anything you do, you don't just put 100% into it. You put 180. He's like, you need to go to a real speedway. I'm like, okay, like what's that? He's like, we'll go to like Vegas or something. And I'm like, okay, let's go this weekend. Come with me. He's like, I'm not going. So my parents moved into my house to take care of the kids, and I hopped on a plane that weekend to fly to Vegas. And you know how you get on a plane and someone sits next to you and has to talk to you the whole time? I had that gentleman. And for some reason, I felt compelled to stay in the Minnetonka Beach Women's Book Club. My divorce is starting. I mean, I was a mess. Looking back now, I do not know how I did it. But in the book club, we were supposed to read Steve Jobs' book, which is huge. So I'm like sitting there on the plane, like feeling this pressure, like trying to read this book, and this guy's trying to talk to me the whole time. He couldn't understand why I was going to Vegas just to drive a race car. And he's like, he couldn't, like, I'm a financial advisor. I gamble with people's money every single day. Like, I don't need to go to Vegas to gamble. And eventually I said, I rewrote my bucket list. I'm doing one thing a month for a year. And he finally was quiet. And he's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. He's like, you're so young. Is it cancer? I'm like, no, it's not. I'm just going to be going through the divorce from hell. And I rewrote my bucket list. I'm doing one thing a month for a year. But after that, I was like, I can't do this. Like, I can't go around telling people that I'm doing something on my bucket list because they think you're dying. And so I just came up with the term live it list, and I just started using it. And I continued to do one thing a month. And what I learned was that this boosted my confidence. Like, I had every, you would watch me on TV, I looked confident, but I had no confidence, because every time that I was on TV, I get yelled at for what I said or how I did it. If I parked the car in the garage, that was wrong. If I then parked the car out of the garage, that was wrong. I had zero confidence in every aspect of my life. And so I learned that if I went skydiving, or if I swam with sharks and all of these really scary things, that if I did those things and I actually didn't die and I came out of it and I had a lot of fun, I was like, oh my gosh, like, what could I do more? And so it became the way to really empower myself. And so I just started calling it the live it list. Well, then I started doing these things with my attorney, with my friends. And I'm like, so now I have my own foundation. We grant live it list experiences. My license plate on my car says live it list. We have live it list journals that we came up with that we sell to help people keep track of all the things that they do. And people always ask, like, oh, how many things have you done? Like, oh my gosh, I've been doing at least one thing a month since 2010. And so there's hundreds, let alone there's still over 400 and some things on my list. Because the problem is you go do one thing and then you meet people and they start telling you, oh my gosh, you got to go try this restaurant, or you got to go do this, or you got to do this. And so I'm always adding things to my list of various experiences. So my live it list, which I need to update this, because I actually did go to Aspen. I finally went out there and went skiing, but it's just all sorts of different things. And some of it now, I've been doing this for so long that a lot of these do mean a lot of travel. And then we even came up with now live it list trips. Rather than me traveling by myself or with my girlfriends, we're taking our first group to Napa. And it's all about having once in a lifetime experiences. So not only are we going to Napa and we're going to some wineries that you really can't get into. We're having one night of all these vintage wines that are the wines that my girlfriend has. And then we are going on a race car little drive. And so it's just all about having experiences. And so you can come up with your own Live It list. And if you ask my kids, like, my kids have had such amazing experiences, what their favorite one is serving meals at Kieran's restaurant, a restaurant in downtown Minneapolis for Thanksgiving. And so a lot of these, we even have on our website, ones that are free, ones that are less than $100. Like, having your Live It list doesn't have to be money. It's all about having an experience and thinking of the things that you really want to do and what really matters and what's important to you. So hosting a foreign exchange student, my kids now I feel are old enough. We've been having those conversations because my girlfriend was just in town from Germany. And so that may be soon checked off the list. It's all about what are some things that you can do that really matters to you in life, or what's really super important to you. Like going to a movie by myself. I've never done that. I'm an only child. Like, why haven't I done that? But I need to go I watch movies on the plane by myself. But that's not the same as actually like pushing yourself beyond the comfort zone or having an experience. We have a list, and all these are on my website of like all the things that I've done, because but this is just a sample of them. Flying a plane, I swam with sharks. I rappelled down the Ecolab building, saw Niagara Falls, dog sledding up in Minnesota. That was amazing. I took my son to see the White House. I took a surf lesson, and all these different things, driving a tank and shooting a machine gun. Like, that was super empowering. All of these things is just to get myself out of my comfort zone and have an amazing different experience and really boost my confidence. And so your Live It list can be whatever you want, but it's all about having that experience and what's important to you. And
so really quickly, Nicole, I think one thing I want to pause on is, you said a couple of things, the 3 things that create, productivity. And one of them is confidence. Mm-hmm. And so we think we have to become more confident in our job to have confidence, but usually we actually have to have more confidence in ourselves as a human being to be confident and more successful in our job. Right. And because we have abilities to become competent in our role all the time, it's not that we don't feel confident in those areas. It's that we're not having an internal strong self-trust and confidence that only comes from pushing ourselves outside of comfort zone and doing things we didn't think we could, or, making these things happen. How do you think that your Live It list foundation, you displaying your self-leadership and doing these things and sharing it with the world on social media and through your website to your clients, how do you think that has affected the growth of your business and your leadership?
It's totally impacted it, because I'm one, I know I'm an inspiration to other people, but 2, it's being really authentic. And I'm not, people that come in, like, we just got another new client this morning. Like, she had a financial advisor, and he was not to stereotype, but 60-year-old man that like never really called her. And anytime he talked to her, like, he kind of talked down to her, and she always felt guilty or bad anytime she called him for money. Mm-hmm. And so for me, I'm out and about, like, doing all these things and having all these experiences. And I'm not one of those financial advisors where, like, you have to give me all of your money. Like, you have to invest everything with me. I don't want you to do that. Like, I want you to have access to funds. And again, I hate that word, balance, but it's having this balance of like saving for the future, planning for the future, saving for today, and having all of those. And I really believe, like, not to pick on Susie Orman, but it's like, she doesn't really live her own advice. And for me, I'm living out loud, like, my life, and I take my own advice. And so I feel that there's this sense of trust that people have and this ease that people have. And that's really my whole goal. Is money can be overwhelming and intimidating for people. And for people to come here into the building, or even, on Zoom, or just be on the phone, my goal is to boost their confidence about money, about happiness, about their life. And I've done that myself. And it's not something where you're like, oh, check, I'm happy. Like, you got to work on this. Like, you got to work on this every single day. And it's not something that just ends. And so as when you're working on things that your clients are working on every single day, there's just this, it's easy. Yeah. Like, and it doesn't feel like work. Like, so many times people are like, oh my God, like, you work all the time. And I'm like, but I don't feel that. Like, my life, there isn't this like time where it's like, oh, here's home time, here's kid time, here's work time. Like it all coincides. Like, I booked a trip. I'm taking my son to another football game. Well, we're going to see a client, but yet my son's going to the game, but yet we're traveling, but yet I'm kind of like it's all interconnected, and all of that is fun. And so it's all about setting up your life to live it how you want to live it. And when you do that, people are attracted to it.
Yeah. And I think there's so much synergy, you guys, here. So as we actually live our lives in the best way possible, as we do the things that, Nicole is advising us to do, and we had the investor come on that has literally built her entire wealth in a very short period of time through real estate investments, and had no idea what she was doing and just went for it, right? And made this happen. It's like living that out, whatever that is for you, and being that person is what is going to continue to fund your business, because you are attractive to people, because you're not just telling people to invest in real estate. You're not just telling people to buy and sell real estate. You're not just telling people, to do these things for their business or their life. You're actually doing it, and you're advising, but you take your own advice and you live it. And when you're living it and you're happy and you're excited, you're much more passionate in an authentic way to your clients than, in a salesy way to your clients. And so I think that oftentimes we just get hung up on trying to do things so compartmentalized, and we don't realize that if we just be the best version of ourselves and live our best life and gain confidence as a human being, the stuff comes to us.
Right.
It's what we're blocking it from coming to us, because we're not willing to do and be what we really want to be and what we really want to do. And there's a path for every single one of us if we just channel that. Right. And, Nicole's business is very in alignment with our business as real estate professionals, growing real estate teams, growing real estate groups, influencing in our markets, having clientele, getting referral business, creating relationships with other people, that are in different professions. The exact same thing. And she's really done it in a way that has really, where she's found her path. Have you guys ever felt like, how the heck did I get into real estate? Why am I still doing this? I mean, come on, let's all be real. And Nicole got into a career that she's like, why am I even doing this? I didn't even want to do this, but I'm here and I have experience. And how am I going to embrace this so that it feels like me and I can enjoy it and be happy? And then it grew and then it exploded. And then she's written multiple books, and she's helping kids with finances, and she's, helping people through divorce, and she's finding the niche. So how do you have to reignite your energy for what you're doing today? By bringing your authentic self and integrating it with your day-to-day life so that it feels like it's fun, and so that you can live it out and help people live it out too, because then it's effortless and you're not trying to go find clients, you're attracting clients. You really, really do.
That's the perfect way of, like, in our industry, they're always like, get a niche, get a niche, get a niche. It's the same thing for you. Like, I know a gazillion realtors, right? But I'm looking at doing this deal and building a home. So the realtor that I hired was more or less worked in the building industry and was a general contractor forever. Like, he was in my office and he's like giddy about drawing plans and he's just brilliant about it. That's like his cup of tea. Like, that's his niche. And so and he loves that. So like, figure out what do you, if you went through a horrible divorce, then help people through that transition, because you can relate. Like, you can take a bad situation and turn it into a good situation. Like, find what drives you, what's your why, what's your passion, what brings you happiness. And if you live that throughout your business, like, that's why we need to hire 2 people like now, and we need to hire 2 more people before the year is over, next year is over. And it's because, like, we have so much growth, and it's because I read Malcolm Gladwell's book a long time ago, The Tipping Point, and I feel like we're finally there. But it's because I got clear in my head of what's my voice, what's my story, what's my why, what's my dream, and how can I live that out and help people. So I know we're running short on time, but I will leave you with this story. So one of my Live It list items, I went sailing through the British Virgin Islands, and this was in 2014. I was on a 45-foot catamaran like this, and we were in the middle of the ocean, and I had my iPad and I was working on one of my books, and I got on to Skype with my kids, and the kids were like, "Oh, we want to see, your girlfriends. We want to see the captain." And I'm like, "Oh, I'll show you later." And mom guilt kicked in. I'm like, "No, I better show them now because the bad internet." So I have my iPad and I'm walking, to the back of the boat. And I'm like, look, there's the captain. Look, there's Jill, my girlfriend. And I took a step backwards and I didn't know my other girlfriend had gone down below and opened up the hatch. And I fell through that and I caught my armpits caught me. And all I could feel was bones in my back, like moving. And so the captain pulled me out and I was to go on this trip. And then I was to be home for a week. And then I was to go, the top financial advisors had a conference in Hawaii. And I was set to, have my first surf lesson, and I rented a Jeep and I was doing this volcano tour and a submarine thing and all of this amazing cool stuff. And that's all I could think about was like, that stuff isn't going to happen. And oh my goodness. Well, fast forward, the captain, his mom was a witch doctor. He went to a small island, cut off an aloe vera branch, cut the leaves in half, heated them on the grill, put them on me, saran wrapped me, and then he'd make me get into the salt water. And then my girlfriend had some Advil PM that I took at night, but this happened on a Wednesday. I didn't get home back to the States. Well, I first had to take a boat, then another boat, then to get to Tortola, then to get to St. Thomas, then get on a plane to Atlanta and get back to Minneapolis. And that, by the time I got home, it was like midnight on Saturday night. And so my mom came to my house 7 a.m. Sunday morning to bring me to the urgent care. They did an x-ray and these people like come rushing in and they're like, we have an ambulance. It's, we're going to take you to the Methodist. I'm like, hold on a second. It is Sunday. This happened on Wednesday. I stayed on the boat till Friday, got home, late Saturday night. I think my mom can drive me 20 more minutes to Methodist Hospital. They did a CAT scan there. And I will always remember this. The doctor sat across from me and sat down and like had his hands on his knees. And he's like, first off, I don't know how you survived all this pain. I'm like, well, second, like, I like tequila, thankfully. And my girlfriend thankfully had a bottle of Advil PM that I took at night. And I go, but I really believe like in the power of your mind. And he goes, okay. He goes, but I don't know how you're sitting here. He's like, you broke 5 ribs in your back and 2 up here in the front. And he's like, these 2 in the front should have punctured your lungs. He's like, this is a miracle from a pain standpoint, let alone like you shouldn't be sitting here. And so there's moments like this that get you to stop and pause. And, am I going to stop doing limitless experiences because I got injured? No, but this transformed and I made so many different decisions in my life because of this, that it was another wake up call of like what really is important and what really matters. And so this is one of my favorite quotes. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place. And I don't care how tough you are, it would beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is going to hit as hard as life, but it ain't how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. I thankfully had one of my figure skating coaches had her master's in psychology. And so she worked with me at such a young age of the power of the mind. And so when I then later on coached figure skating, I did the same thing that she did with me. My students would come over and say, I can't do this. And I would say, here's the deal. That's a word that I don't know. So if you're going to say it, you're going to pay me $1. And my students then would pay me $1. They didn't know I turned around and gave parent money back to their parents. But what happens? They stopped saying the word can't. And then they just would go do the jump. And so much of in life is taking off that mental block of like, so many times people say like, I don't have any money, or I can't be a millionaire, or I can't buy that investment property. It's all about changing how you say things. Like my kids, my son will be like, Mom, are you a billionaire yet? Because I say like, I want to be a billionaire. I want this, or I'm going to get this. It's all being positive and changing how you say things and living from that positive mindset. And then setting goals. You probably have seen this Harvard study before. It's not just setting goals, but it's writing them down. Because this 1979 Harvard class, 3% had written goals in a plan, 13% had goals, but they didn't write them down. And 84% had no goals at all. 10 years later, the 13% who had goals but didn't write them down were earning twice the amount that the 84% who had no goals. But here's the big thing. The 3% who wrote down their goals were earning on average 10 times as much as the 97% of the class combined. So write down your goals, get a financial plan, share them with your friends, share them with your financial advisor, share them with your team, your significant other, whomever. I have a vision board still sitting up here, and I have my old ones. And so my daughter was in the office the other day before school started, and she's like, Mom, you had this car, you had this boat, I'm like, yeah, that's a really old vision board. But subconsciously, this stuff comes to you if you put it out there. And so it's all about setting those goals and writing them down. What do you want in your life? Where do you want to be 5, 10, 20 years from now? And actually setting those intentions and writing those things down and then doing something about them. It's just taking some baby steps. So having a vision board, I'm all of, there's Wishboard, which is an app you can use, but I'm all about, taking the time physically and like cutting out the things, finding, 6-pack abs and cutting out the picture and putting it up, and all about having that vision. So here's some action steps. Assess your situation, take some time, utilize this weekend to reflect and say, okay, where am I and where do I want to be and what do I need to do? And then I encourage you to write out your live it list. You can go to our website and look at some things, but come up with, what do you really want? If you're going to do one thing a year, one thing a month, what is that item? What really ignites you and will wake you up in the morning? Get a mentor if you don't have one, and then go live life with your happiness. So if you know what you're worth, then go out and get what you're worth. And then here's my contact info. If we offer free initial consultations. We're pretty much licensed in every state, so we can help anyone. And we've got the budget worksheet, tons of resources and things out there as well.
Definitely go to prosperwell.com and use some of those resources. I've had a number of you ask for a budget worksheet. I've had a number of you ask for a few things. Here's the reality. You can all have investment properties. You can all have, $10,000 a month in residual income if you want it here. You can all have, a collaborative group around you that helps you all, earn more money and build wealth for the future. You all can have and be debt free. Everybody can do what they want to do. Number one, we've got to change our mindset around it. And I think number two, we've got to find somebody that we trust that we can talk to about it. And one thing I've noticed with Nicole is that she makes it where it's not scary to talk about money and not feel ashamed of where you are. Because you know what? I know that probably 99% of realtors have been in a place where they're like, crap, I still owe too many taxes. I didn't plan for this accordingly. I didn't think I was going to make this much money. And I was trying to make up because last year I didn't. So I paid things off and then I didn't think to save for taxes. Like, you guys, we're human beings. We probably didn't take those classes. They don't teach them in high school and college the way that I think that they should. And there's just so many different things. Nicole, you have multiple books, right? So for those that are parents, can you just quick run down a few of your books, and are they on your website, I assume?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And you can go, Middendorf.com is where you can go and you can buy it. We've got the journal. This is Who Pays, Navigating Love and Money, which then we also did a deck of cards that comes with it. And it's because I'm all about having a money date with yourself, let alone having a money date with your kids, having those conversations about money and making it as fun as possible. So yeah, NicoleMiddendorf.com, but Prosper Well can get you there too.
Perfect. And so there's a lot of things that Nicole talked to us about. If you do have children, you can pay your children to work for you. You just have to know your laws. And so there's some information on that. If you pay them to work for you and you can put it, is it in an IRA, Nicole? So you're setting them up for their first home or an investment property as well?
Yep. Yeah. So my daughter is 12 and you have to follow the child labor laws and stuff, but my daughter, not this past summer, but the summer before, came in and she worked a full 40 hours with me, and I wrote out a check and gave it to her. I'm like, I really have trouble with this. And so I went back to my CPA and I'm like, I know you said I have to wait with child labor laws, but I'm like, I'm paying her from my trust. I'm paying her from my personal account. Like, I don't like this. Like, she's actually like, so my daughter's the one that color coordinated all the books behind me. Like, she did all of that. And so that's where she's got a Roth IRA. She's on payroll. And so I pay her now. She doesn't see any of the money. And then I put it in a Roth IRA. She can use that tax-free for her first home purchase, tax-free for higher education, or she can leave it in there, and it's an easy way to make a kiddo a millionaire. And
when you pay her, that benefits you as a business owner.
It's a business expense. Yep,
right.
Absolutely. So it's a win-win. Absolutely.
I think so many of us just never have, I didn't grow up with necessarily conversations around money like this. And that's why a lot of us that are my age, we are still trying to figure out how to manage our own money because we failed forward and we didn't maybe have somebody we trusted and we kind of felt a little embarrassed or guilty. And so we've just kind of figured things out on our own. And when we can actually learn some of these things and we can start doing this and teaching our kids now, by the way, what a cool conversation to, you know, bring some other business owners into this conversation and say, hey, you guys, I listened to somebody and I had some great ideas here. I don't know if you know this, you know, but here are some things. And so now you learn something and you share it with somebody else and you bless them because they wouldn't have heard it if you didn't tell them. And you tell clients about this and you share, you know, some books that Nicole writes. I mean, these are all things that you can feel good about impacting other people's lives. And it helps you to bring more value to your clients. And so, you know, a lot of times we don't think outside of the box. We just tell people about real estate related things. What about things that make their lives better? You know, what about things that just make their finances better? And they think of us because we're the person that's blessing them with this information. The only way we can is if we become a student ourselves, we learn this and we start to live it like Nicole has, and then we can share it with other people. But that's where we can really start to just be the best version of ourselves and attract other people. And we don't have to make this more difficult than it is. Let's just continue to level up ourselves as human beings. And I promise you, we're going to keep surrounding ourselves with great human beings, which are going to provide us with a great opportunity. So thank you, Nicole, for being here. We really appreciate you guys. Go take a look at both those websites and share it with somebody that needs it. And I think it'll make us all feel good about doing that. But let's take one action item and move forward on it today if we can. That's our hope after these calls. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.